everybody, it is Romania Black, and we're on episode 4 of Uramichi Oniisan. I got up, and today I was like, I think I'm going to watch Uramichi Oniisan, and I was like, man, but it's so crazy that we're only going to be halfway through the season with episode 4, and then I thought about it for a second, I'm like, wait a minute, there's 13 episodes in this season! So we're like only a third of the way through the series after this episode, which is really exciting because so far this series has been, I kid you not, the most relatable but yet simultaneously hilarious and depressing show I've watched in a long time. And I was like, damn, I think Alex Cornejo with episode 1, they were saying that, you know, we can deal with artificial intelligence, we can deal with monsters, we can deal with titans, but we can't deal with midlife crises. Or existential crises. They're not even at their midlife yet, but I really enjoyed the last episode. It was probably my favorite so far, was episode 3. And I have a feeling we're just getting started. But yeah, Uramichi, he is just getting pulled through the ringer with this series and just everything that everybody's doing with him. And the sad thing is, like we talked last episode, he's severely depressed and nobody seems to really notice or are taking any measures because they're probably all messed up to an extent themselves. So it's like, but I am recording a little bit ahead. And so I do have one comment from HBanana7 that says that Uramichi kind of is also like a slang term for back alley. And I was like, oh, the Reagan vibes are there, y'all. But also back alley sounds kind of underhanded. And then you have Ikateru, which means a guy that's handsome or popular, which fits. Of course, I feel like Miyano Mamoru just looked at the character name and went, yep. Like without even, I'm not saying Miyano Mamoru is vain, but he's played some vain characters. And I feel like he just looked at the description and was like, oh, of course. Like, of course I'm going to be the handsome, popular guy. Why wouldn't I be? Oh my God. I love it. And then Kamiya was just like, yeah, I'll play him. I'll play Uramichi. But I really liked that. Also, wanted to make note, the show that this series is based off of is actually called With Mama, which is such a kind of weird, creepy name for a show. Like, With Mama sounds like something, it sounds like a Southern Berenstain. I said Berenstein and I've been told it's Berenstain Bears this whole time. And I'm like, pfft. But it always reminded me of like a Berenstain book, be like, With Mama. It seems like there should be like some bear cartoons come out with it. I don't know. But I'm so excited with this series. I love it so far. I really look forward to it. It's going to be hard for me not to go ahead and record because I was going on a trip and I was like, well, I can record this when I get back. And then I was like, I want to record it right now. But I am looking forward to your comments. Obviously, when the series is over, we'll be having a live stream about it, so that'll be nice. So I look forward to seeing your comments once we get to it. That'll be great. But with that being said, we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to dive right in and see what we get. So I hope you all enjoy, but we're going to start episode 4 of Life Lessons with Uramichi Oniisan, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's do this. Oh my God, this show is absolutely hilarious. Oh my God. What? Yep, okay. This show is great. And each episode gets funnier and funnier, but so the circumstance. So they start out this episode talking about like the degrees in Celsius. They're like throughout the country, they're gonna have record cold temperatures. So I want to get down here and talk about like the highs and lows here. Cause if we're doing like Celsius to Fahrenheit, cause I'm from the US. So, everything that's like Celsius. So like 5 degrees Celsius is only 41 degrees. So the hottest temperatures there, it said that one of the islands was 22 and the other ones on the mainland were 10. So 22 degrees Celsius is like 71. So legit. But the other ones there that have the cold front, it's only 50 degrees. So if you've ever been outside in the winter, even when it's like 50 degrees, it wasn't snowing or anything, but 50 degrees is like, to me, one of the worst temperatures, because if it's like at least cold, you can bundle up, you can wear like all these layers, you can get warm. But if it's 50 degrees, it's like, are you cold? Are you warm? What do you wear? How does this go? So them being out in like tank tops, it's damp also. Like I feel like it's not like a dry cold, it's just damp. 50 degrees is like just a damp, cold grossness. And the fact that it looked like they were on the beachfront, so it's just like salty air and like the water, no. And the fact that they ended up getting cold, I felt so bad for Kamau. I was like, damn, him ending up getting the cold. But let's talk about this episode. So they decided they were going to film their beach episode at Kujikuri Beach in Chiba. During all this. Like some areas maybe below zero when you go out, but it's fine. And so they do the photo shoot and the shoot for the episode being like, we're shooting today and it's going to be used in the summer. And it's a music video for like a song. The videographer seems particular about things and wants to take his time. What I like about this series is they do talk about like some of the ins and outs of the business being like, yeah, even though this isn't coming out till summer, we have to go ahead and record it because the cinematography, the videographer, he wants time to mess with it, everything. So we're just going to shoot this music video today. And this is the time we have scheduled to come out of the studio and go shoot. The temperatures just happen to suck really bad. And they're out there in a damn tank top. At least the one girl, Titano, was smart enough to be like, I'm wearing this sun costume, but they all look so dead inside. They all look so dead inside. And Uramichi's like, I'm so ice cold and dead inside that this weather means nothing to me. Also, I definitely get the vibe from Uramichi because he's a former competitor, because he's formerly like, there's an air about Uramichi so far where you can tell he was a former gymnast. He's a competitor. He has this like, he thinks that he's dead inside and that he's given up on life. But then he has this competitive streak where he's like, no, I'm going to do the job. I'm going to do it because it's my job. And that's what I've been assigned to do. And he kind of gets on to Ikateru a little bit because Ikateru's like, I'm really cold. I don't like this. And he's like, I didn't train enough for this. I was like, Ikateru, you and Uramichi, you guys could be gym bros together. Get to develop your friendship. But I like that Uramichi's like, you need to suck it up and let's do this. There's a part of me that thinks that Uramichi like maybe wanted to be a coach or could be a coach and, you know, had this gymnastic background. It just didn't work out. I feel so bad for him throughout this entire episode. I feel so horrible for him because he's just like, whatever. And I feel like the director at some points, the director kind of is in on the joke and in on how cynical and sarcastic Uramichi's being. And the director's just like, whatever, let's keep going. I wonder if at some point Uramichi's going to go off on the director for being like, why are you doing this? And the director's going to be like, because you're good at this and you don't realize it and you think it's all just a game, but here's what your talents are. I'm wondering if it's going to take that turn and have like a more serious, heartfelt moment like that, or if it's just going to be cynical. I don't know. It's based off a manga, so you would think that it's ongoing, so I don't know. But damn, I like that this whole time, Tadano and Ikateru, they're both cold and like shivering, and Uramichi's just like, whatever, we'll make it work. But then Usao digs his grave. Usao is like, I like that Kumao the whole time. Kumao looks over and is like, nope, I'm not going to say anything because Uramichi's going to kill me. Usao digs his own grave. Usao's just like, I can't believe he'd wear a tank top. Who would do that? Who would be that stupid? And he like slowly walks towards him. Like, I do not feel bad for Usao. He digs his own grave in this episode. It's just, oh. He's like, I can't bear it. I like that Uramichi's like, I'm going to kill him. So then they're like, well, we've got some tough decisions to make. And Uramichi's like, no, I'm fine. It's not tough at all. He's like, no. And Ikateru's like, how are you not cold? You're incredible. He's like, you're not lying? He's like, I thought I'd been training well, but I don't have enough muscle. And then Kamao's like, no, even Uramichi should be feeling cold. He's just in stark denial. He's got goosebumps and everything. He's just passing it off. And when he looks out to the ocean, he's like, the ocean is vast. I was like, I felt very Eren Yeager in that moment. I was like, Uramichi is just like in total denial and he's just dead inside. And that's how he's getting through it. He's like, at this point, what else can he do? So I just noticed for the first time, I was told that the guy holding up the directions, his voice actor is the same voice actor as Tanjiro from Demon Slayer. This is the first episode where he gets to really talk on his own and be like outspoken. You can tell it's Tanjiro. I'm like, oh my God, it is him. Like, I could instantly tell it's him. I'm like, wow, the voice like just shows up. I love the idea that they're like, we don't have watermelons, but we have winter gourds, and it's a kid's show, so they won't know any different. We'll just let these kids, like, just do this. And oh my God, Uramichi's just, like, over it. He's like, oh, this is what you're gonna have me do. Okay. He's just, like, using spite to power through. And Ikateru, I like that he also tries to get Ikateru to say, like, how about I bust your head open? And they're like, that'll get him fired. Don't do it. I like Kamau. I can't decide now. I'm torn. Do I ship Uramichi and Ikateru, or do I ship Kamau and Ikateru? Because Kamau seems like he knows everything about him and likes him, but maybe he likes the sister. I don't know. Maybe he's trying to get to the sister through Ikateru. But then there's Usao at the end, and Usao's like, I've always loved you, Kamau. And Kamau's like, what the fudge are you talking about, dude? And I think it's just because he's like, when you get back, the kids think that we've merged or that I've killed you. You're going to be pissed. So I'm just trying to get on your good side before you get back here. And she's like, I love that they ask what she is. And she's like, I'm a sun spirit. And she's like, don't talk to me. Don't question it. I'm wearing this costume so I can stay warm. And then, yeah, Usao says that training's about the only thing that you can do. And then I like that Uramichi's like, guess what we're about to do? You're going to stand right in front of me as I bust this open. He's like, clench your teeth. Oh my God! That part was absolutely hilarious. And I love that Kamau, again, I kind of ship Kamau and Ikateru because Kamau's like watching out for Ikateru and like shielding his eyes, being like, don't look, you're too innocent for this world. I feel like Usao is just, he's such a moron. It's like a shipping love triangle at this point because I like the idea of Ikateru. Ikateru and Uramichi are almost like rivals because they're both kind of buff guys that are kind of attractive and they're stuck in this role, right? And Tadano couldn't pick between the two of them. But then I also like Kamau and his relationship with Ikateru, and it seems like he's flirting with him and trying to like get on his good side. So I like that. But then I also like Kamau and Usao together. But then I also kind of like Uramichi and Usao. Uramichi and Usao are really like enemies to lovers. They're really like, they hate each other, but at the same time, they're kind of both buffoons. So I've got like a love square going. And then Tadano, the female character, is over here with her deadbeat comedic boyfriend lamenting about it in this episode. So we have like a love square between the male characters. And then Tadano is just like, I can't catch a break. I loved when like he smashed the watermelon. He smashed the winter gourd, which Uramichi ain't playing. And the piece of it like smashed up into Usao's face. Freaking hilarious. Like, I don't know if it's supposed to be like an innuendo of him smashing the gourd in front of Usao, like, I will crush your dick. But I love that he's like, look, you escaped death. Understand that you just escaped death. I love that. God, this whole episode is so funny. So then they're like, while you're out here, we're going to splash each other with water. And I just love that moment where he just breaks the stick. Absolutely hilarious. Oh my God. So we find out that Kamau's character, he's actually been in a Tsurune team, which is really cool. I love that. Having watched Tsurune, I think that's really awesome. I love that Tadano is left-hand shark for a hot second. And then Uramichi, like, I love that at this point, Ikateru hasn't said one word. And Uramichi's like, shut up, don't say you're cold. And Ikateru's like, I haven't said anything. And so it's almost like Uramichi is projecting that anger where he's actually cold onto Ikateru, being like, don't be doing what I can do, what I'm feeling inside. Also, the inner tubes that they're wearing are the character that Uramichi made up. So I'm sure he feels great about that. But yeah, he says, don't say it's cold, I want to quit or I want to go home. And Ikateru's like, I didn't say anything like that. So they have the water guns, and Kumao is able to avoid hitting Ikateru because I love that he's like, oh, I won't get a drop of water on him. I will use my Tsurune training, and it'll be perfect. Also, now that I'm thinking about it, I really want to ship Kumao and Ikateru because he's like following along, and it's this rainbow, and it's all happy and everything. Yeah, I kind of want to ship them. But then you have Usao, who did not have Tsurune training. And he's like, if I hit him, I am dead. And we cut from him to Uramichi. And Uramichi's like, yeah, if you hit me with that stupid water gun, I will kill you. And then the first thing he does is he just splashes him right in the face. Didn't even avoid it. And then Uramichi punched him. And he basically was dead at that point. His college days, nothing was of use to him. And then, yeah, they have the scene of him just in the sand being buried. And then we see Uramichi. Uramichi reminds me of Oikawa in that moment, spiking the ball down in his face. I love it. God. It just absolutely hilarious. Everything about this episode was so good. Now, they had the little sparklers. They had the tiny sparklers there, which was really cute. And then poor Ikateru's getting a cold because he's freezing. They had enough money to get the sparklers, but then they didn't have enough money to get the fireworks. So they tell them they're going to CGI it all in. And they're like, well, why didn't we do that from the start with everything else? But I thought the director was asking them to go way over the top, because at first it's they have this really cute scene and they're looking at the sky pretending that it's fireworks, and it looked really good. But the director's like, no, that's not enough. And I get that it's for a kid show. So you want to make it be more dramatics and exaggerated for the kids. So that part all makes sense, but it just makes them look psychotic. It just makes them look so psychotic. So then, yeah, and then Ikateru seeing the UFO, the Onigiri UFO, bless its heart. He was so cold, he was hallucinating. And then he gets a cold. It's so sweet that Ikateru takes it so seriously. Part of me wonders if Ikateru is he's so hot and he can sing. Part of me wonders if maybe he is a little neurodivergent and maybe Ikateru is on a spectrum, perhaps. But then we meet his sister and she's exactly the same. They're just they're both got their heads in the clouds. So maybe they both are. Maybe it's just a family thing. Because she's just sitting there thinking the same thing he is. So maybe they're all just head in the clouds and aloof. Maybe that's it. But I like that Tadano tries to be... I thought Tadano wanted to get out of work. I thought the whole speech where she's like, we can't possibly record the episode today without Ikateru, and then Kamau, she's like, we can't possibly record the episode without Kamau. I thought she was just trying to get out of work. I thought she was let's just not shoot today, go home, we'll come back when everybody's feeling good. But that's not what happens, and it just becomes a bit at that point. So they're like, no, we're just gonna keep on going and doing that. I like that they didn't know who Sayuri was, but Kamau knew who Sayuri was. Maybe Kamau is dating the sister and we just don't know it yet. We don't really... Of all of the characters, we haven't really seen, other than Kamau fishing that one episode, we haven't really seen what Kamau does in his spare time. So maybe she's visiting him. Maybe the sister is out visiting Kamau. Maybe they're secretly dating. I don't know. I don't know what this is. But they end up basically going along with the skit. And God, I love these kids. These kids are in this episode. There is no fooling them. There's one, they're all over Uramichi-san, grabbing his shirt and hanging off of him. It's just it's chaos. It's absolute chaos, but it's innocent, so it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. But they are terrifying. And she's like, oh, well, we don't talk about Ikateru now. He's gone on to a better place. And Uramichi's like, that's going to make them think he's dead. I love the kids are so did he finally get fired? These kids are savage. They are brutal. But little kids are like that. There's no filter. They don't know protocol. They don't know societal expectations. Oh my God. It's insane. I do love that of all these characters, Kamau seems the most normal out of all of them. But here's the thing too. This also fuels my Ikateru and Kamau ship. When we cut back to the room here's the thing. The Kamau and Ikateru family mystery continues because when we cut back to the room Ikateru is with Sayuri-san, there on the bed fighting her for the blanket. In the background is a Kumao teddy bear. So either it's like it's Ikateru's bear, and him and Kumao could be in a ship, or maybe Kumao gave him the bear of himself and he really likes Ikateru. Or because Ikateru is living with his sister, the bear is his sister's, and the sister is in the relationship with Kumao. Or they like each other. I'm going to crack this open. We're going to crack this open by the end of the series, but I still kind of want to ship Ikateru with Uramichi, but I also am like totally fine with shipping him with Kumao as well. Oh my God. And she's like, I made porridge. I think the sister and Kumao might be in a relationship. Interesting. And Kumao just happens to know everything about Ikateru from it. So then Bacterian comes out, right? I beat him with a cold. His voice sounds a lot like Levi from Attack on Titan when he comes out and does this. But at this moment, he's like, I love that he gets onto Usao. He's like, I heard everything that you said and I will destroy you. But then this part here where he makes this monologue, they're like, the Earth, he's like, I wonder why I don't have any fun when I do bad things if he's not around. That part there made me want to ship Ikateru right back with Uramichi, because Uramichi's like, me and Ikateru are rivals, and if I don't have someone to compete with, I'm not happy anymore. There's no point, so I'll come back whenever he's there to fight another day. He's like, maybe it's because I want someone to stop me that I keep doing bad things. I'm like, I feel like Uramichi is projecting all of the bad qualities he thinks he has in himself in this moment onto Bacterian. He's just like, this is why I'm a bad person. And he's projecting all of this, and then when he comes out to the kids, he's like, that character is really bad. And I'm like, that's how he thinks of himself. I'm like, oh no. Oh no. Because the kids immediately are like, and he just walks off stage like it's nothing. And he's like, he only sticks to his principles because he's obsessed with something. That's Uramichi. Uramichi is like obsessed with something with his past, with his gymnastics that we don't know about. Or there's something with Ikateru that he's obsessed with. He's like, if your goal is just to compete with someone, then you can never beat that person. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, and these kids are just looking at him like, okay. He's like, Bacterian's no good. And they're like, wow, how ruthless. And then, you know, Uramichi is just like, well, remember that you can't aim high while making friends or being afraid of loneliness. I feel like Uramichi in some regards is like every over-the-top insane proclamation to sports anime characters has been said to Uramichi, and he's just taken them so to heart that they've like corrupted him from within. Oh my God, it's kind of insane. And then Usao's like, oh, that's the reason he's spectacularly single, isn't it? And he's like, I'm going to kill you. So anyway, Sayuri-san, so the sister comes in and wipes off the feet, and she's got all the leaks. We cut to Ikateru, and he is impossibly handsome. And this scene between them, where she's like, I brought you some jelly and stuff while I took a walk. I feel like this is her house that he's staying at, which it is. But he's like, I dreamed of childhood. And it was when I had a fever on the day of the piano recital. Like, they're both very musical, and it cuts to her, and she's just thinking about Onigiri too. She's just as dense as he is. And she's like, oh, sorry, I wasn't listening. And then it cuts to him, and he's like, sister. They're both so dense, and they both love each other, and they both know it. It's so freaking hilarious. God, it's great. But anyway, they go out to drinking. And Usao is like, I wonder if Ikateru is frail. And then Kumao is like, I heard that he tends to get fevers easily ever since he was a child. So, okay, again, I think running along this theory, I think Kumao has figured this out from the sister, because he's like, well, I heard. And I wonder if he heard from the sister, right? And he's like, but he said he lives with his older sister now, so he's probably okay. Or maybe Ikateru told him. Okay. And then he's like, well, you sure know a lot about him. And he's like, his sister's a musician. She teaches violin students to students at home on weekdays. I'm like, so he knows the sister, or he wants to know the sister. And Usao's like, you're like a walking Wikipedia for this guy. I think he wants to date the sister, but who knows? I love the song that Tadano, she's like, beer, beer, beer now. And Uramichi's like, we're going out without him. Are you okay with that? And she's like, yeah, it's fine. She's like, I can't help it that he's not here. He's like, you really love them coworkers. I love that Uramichi like does the passionate passive aggressive that when Ikateru comes back the next day and he's like, oh hey, I want to apologize, and Uramichi's like, can you knock first? Just, and bless his heart, like another reason why I think he's so precious is he brings out, he's like, I'm gonna try to keep myself healthy and have notes, and Uramichi's like, did your sister write you notes? And he's like, oh well, you know. And Ikateru's like, it's okay. He's like, you don't have to try so hard from someone else's sake. I really think Kamau likes the sister, and I really want to ship Ikateru and Uramichi so hard. I'm not opposed to multi-shipping. I'm not opposed to the square that we got going on. I'm not opposed to shipping Uramichi with Isao as well, but it's just, there are so many moments that are shippable. I'm like, oh, I love it. I love it. Or they're all just friends and have soft spots for each other. What can we do? But yeah, so Kamau is sick now. And they all theorize about whose voice it was, about whose fault it was. Ikateru thinks that it was his fault because it was his cold. And we could theorize that he went over to visit the sister and got the cold from there. We could theorize that. Tadano puts on her routine. And then Uramichi thinks that it's his fault. That I liked it the whole time we have Ikateru thinking of the onigiri with bear ears, now bear body. What? And so I like the idea that Uramichi's like, it might have been my fault that he got sick because he stood outside waiting on him. So he thinks that was it. And he was giving Uramichi a movie that was man eating salmon versus bunny on a moped 2, Electric Boogaloo. Ridiculous bunny on a moped. So Uramichi thinks that it's his fault. He's like, well, that might have done it. And so then we have Tadano. She thinks spilling the beer on him was her fault. And she's like, well, that could have done it. Also, she has this big conversation about her existential crisis, which is that she has realized that she is becoming the woman she didn't think she was going to become. She's like, everybody talks to me about getting married. Why am I not married yet? Which, girl, relatable. I feel like every woman that is in her 20s or 30s that is either single or engaged, it's constantly the question of, well, why don't you have a boyfriend? Are you looking for a boyfriend? Did you land a boyfriend? Do you want somebody in a relationship with? It doesn't even have to be a boyfriend. It's like, well, do you have a boyfriend? Do you have a girlfriend? Do you have a partner? And then if you do have a partner, it's the conversation of, well, why aren't you married yet? Are you married yet? Are you thinking about kids? Are you going to have kids? And it's just like, it's constant. I feel like if you are a woman, or if you present as female, it is a constant question of when you're... My brother don't get these questions, I can tell you that for sure. I've always been like, why is my brother not asked why he's not married? Why is anybody asking him why this isn't the case? But no. But yeah, I totally feel her in her existential crisis. And she's just like, she's like, I used to make fun of women in their 30s for being like this. And she says, but now I'm there and realizing that I'm like them. And so she's having this big crisis about it. I like the idea that she just brings these guys out to drink with her so that she can rant to them, which is a mood. She's like, I'm a dull 30-something woman obsessed with marriage. And I like that Kamau is very attentive to her, and I don't know if it was to draw attention to the fact he was going to get hit with the beer, or if he's just a very observant person, and that's just part of his character. She's like, I'm someone who used to look down on when I was young. Meanwhile, Uramichi is sitting there like tugging at the cheek of Usao. Again, you could ship these guys so many different ways. She's like, I can't be the ideal me like I imagined myself being. I'm getting pulled into normal, and I have no energy left to fight the natural thing forced on me either. That's such a true thing where she's like, I have all these ambitions to go above and beyond, but she's like, I can't find a way. She's like, I don't have any energy left to be extraordinary anymore. And I'm just falling into this societal expectation. And she's like, I don't know what to do about it. And I'm like, oh my God, relate. And so then, yeah, Kamau just ends up getting the cold. And the snowball fight, I don't know. I like both Kamau and Uramichi look at him like, no, we're not having a snowball fight. We just took like footage out on a beach in the cold. Like, what the fudge? Oh my God. This series, though, the way that they animate and draw people's faces, it's so funny. But yeah, Uramichi's like, nope, we're going to do our best. We're going to do it without them. It's all good. Unfortunately, Osao is not as well liked as Kamau. I really like this kid in the audience. It's so subtle, but if you watch him, he's like, well, to tell the truth, Kamau-kun had a fight with Usao-kun. And Usao, like, his little eyebrows kind of furrow. It's like the tiniest little animation, but if you notice it, you're like, oh no. And then the kids are like, well, but we want Kamau-kun. And they're like, we don't, like, isn't Usao the one who should go away? And Uramichi's like, yes, he is. I love that Uramichi is just living for Usao getting his comeuppance. It's so amazing. And so then he has the crisis. And Uramichi's like, well, why don't you just go out in Kumau's costume if that's who they want to see? And I like that Usao's like, well, would you steer me wrong? Uramichi goes, have I ever respected you? He says no. I love that Uramichi's like, I can be honest with you because I don't like you. So good. But then he goes out, but you can't fool these kids. The one kid dissents, and from there it's on. Like the one kid dissents, and he's like, you're not as tall. You're taller than Kamau's actually. And then it's all downhill from there. Oh my God, it's hilarious. And then they all turn on him. And so he's like, they're too sharp. And he's like, I'm just going to be honest and go out and tell them. And Uramichi doesn't stop him. He lets him go out and terrorize those kids. And then, oh my God, the montage where it's like all of their faces with the sketch version as they stare, and Uramichi has the veins on his cheek like you messed up so bad. God, it's funny. I love it so much. It's so good. So then we have the ED, and then we go back and we get to Sal's room, which just looks like every guy in his 20s rooms that I saw in college, where it's just like DVDs and tissues and a bed. You can use your imagination. But I love these. He's basically like, I'm so grateful to have you. And he's like, what are you doing? You're creeping me out. I don't know. I'm so excited to see how the relationships in this series end up going. If they're going to give us more shippable things with these characters, I don't know. But this was freaking hilarious. It just gets funnier and funnier, and I love it so much. So I'm really excited to see where this goes next week, to see what we're going to get. But I'm also really excited to hear your comments down below. So yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back real soon with more Uramichi Oniisan. Bye!